all of our section 1s are glued and stacked, and we have paper number 12 is at the top. What we need now is your fold template, your plastic fold template, and I'm going to use this blue one because it's easier for you to see the blue, and it's just cardboard or poster board. You'll need your add a quarter ruler and your rotary cutter. We're going to take section 2, which have 2 stacks of the accent fabric. We can remove the clips now, and we can put them together. And we do have a sew side on here, but since it's a rectangle, it doesn't matter which side. We just know the long side is a sew side. And even though these are all the same fabric, we could just put these, attach these to these papers sort of willy-nilly. It doesn't matter if we keep them in order or not, but get in the habit of keeping them in order. I fan these out so they're easier to pick up. But first we need to trim the papers. And we're going to, as we trim them, we're starting with 12, and we'll put 11 on top, and we'll get to 1 again at the top. And so our fabric number 1 in section 2 will be at the top. You need to place this so you can read line 1. There's line 1, and then line 2 is up here. You see that? You need to be able to read line 1. If it's like this, you can't read it, so it's going to be wrong. Turn it around so you can read it. Where'd it go? There it is. I'm going to place it here. Take my fold template and place it on line 1. Right on line 1, the solid line. And you're going to fold the paper back. All of this over here should be folded too. Just go all the way across like that, even though you're only going to trim this little piece here. Take your add a quarter ruler, place it against the fold template, and trim. Now we're going to leave this folded like this, and we're going to place it to the side and take the next one, line 1, fold all the way down, add a quarter ruler, and trim. And let me show you how I'm stacking them. I'm stacking them like this so I can grab the next one on top when I need it. And those were off to the side. I'll show you one more time. Place your template on line 1, and you might want to put it further this way. It makes it easier to fold. And then fold it all the way across. Add a quarter ruler and trim. I'm going to take all this off and stack it over here. Go through your whole stack, and then you'll have a big stack with number 1 back on the top. Here's our stack of trimmed on line 1. Now we're ready to place section 2 underneath the papers. Let's move this off to the side, and paper number 1 is at the top, so now we know that this is fabric number 1 of section 2. Now from now on, all of the rest of these, the fabrics will be placed right sides up. Let's fan these out a little bit. I take one and put it on my mat. I've zoomed this in so you can see. I've placed this on a horizontal line, and I've made it parallel to this trimmed edge. This is our sew side. This is our trimmed edge that we just trimmed. If you look at the markings down here, here's the 1/4 inch line. That's the seam allowance. And this area down here is the area that has to be covered by this fabric. And if you put it next to here, you see there's plenty of fabric to cover this area. And let's put this back up here. And what we're going to do is pick this up and match the top edges, and then we're going to check. We can see that fabric is all the way out here, and the fabric is all the way out here, and it does come down below. We can see that it matches this line here. So we know that this area here is completely covered by the fabric underneath. And what we have to do next, this one is probably not as hard, but as these pieces get longer, it's going to be harder to keep these together. And I'm going to show you how to glue. And I get in the habit of gluing these long, narrow pieces. You pick up this top fabric and then hold it and put a little bit of glue right in the seam allowance. And then with my other hand, I pick up the fabric, then press this down and come back over here, put it in the seam allowance, press it down, and then put another one. Generally, I put 3 pieces, or 3 dabs of glue. This fabric is not going anywhere, and you won't have any problems when you bring it to the machine to sew it. So less ripping out. Now remember, this is number 1, so we'll just keep it in order. Let's do one more. Lay this down horizontal. What I'm doing is taking this off the stack here. Lay it down, match the top edges, and check for your fabric coverage. And here's where we need to cover this section here. Now we'll glue. Pick up the end, glue, press, glue and slide, glue and slide. That's what it is. Okay, that's ready there. Now do all of your pieces like that. Glue all of your section 2 to all of your papers, and then we'll be ready to stitch them. Here are my papers with all of section 2 glued to section 1 in the seam allowance. The next thing we're going to do is stitch on line 1. And I've found it easy with these papers because they're so big to just gather them up like this and take them to the machine like this. And we'll take the top one and bring it to our machine, and we'll hold the bottom part of the paper in place and flip over the top part. Then we're going to stitch on line 1. Here's line 1, the solid line. That's what we're going to stitch on. You always fold and stitch on the solid line. For stitching, we're going to use 1.8 stitch length. You want a smaller length so it's easier to take the paper off later. You're going to start at the end of this line, and the line goes all the way to this dashed line on this side and on this side. Start a little bit off the line, then stitch on the line all the way down, and then stitch a few stitches off of the line. It's okay to go in those. It won't hurt anything. It just holds the stitches in place better. Now I'll stitch one at the machine and show you what it looks like. Here we have line 1 stitched, and I stitched with red thread at the top and white at the bottom. You can see I came off a little bit because the line ended right here at this dashed line. Off a little bit on the line, and then off a little bit on the other end. And here's what it looks like on the back. And when you're done with this, you're going to press toward section 2. Press up this way. Put your papers back in order so you have number 1 at the top if they've gotten out of order. So 1 at the top, 12 at the bottom, and we'll move on and add section 3.